Good morning. It's Wednesday today here in Dubai. I haven't recorded videos for a while because my routine has been a little bit out of whack, in part due to some energy issues I've been having. I've been very focused on trying to get my diet more clean. I've researched and learned a lot lately, and I've done some blood studies. I found out that I have some intolerance right now, it seems, to cow's milk, egg whites, um, some kind of gum, I forgot the name right now, and also slightly intolerance to pea, which is odd because I never eat peas, but I guess it might be due to some of the pea protein that I'm using with the vegan protein powder. I suppose that those might be causing it. I also found out that the most likely cause of my symptoms, like the lack of energy, the leukocytes being too low regularly, might all be caused by the same thing, which is leaky gut, which in turn might be caused by metal toxicity, but that's something that I still have to do some blood tests to find out. Although I've also heard some reports about blood tests not being sufficient because you could be eating, for instance, salmon, as I did. I ate salmon daily, pretty much. You could even consider it was twice a day because I had some salmon from a can, which I had in my spaghetti, and I had another piece of salmon straight up, as they say, with like sweet potatoes. So I consider I had a very, very healthy diet, but depending on the source, I did calculations at the time. I ran the average number of particles of mercury in salmon, and ran the calculations in terms of how much I can eat and remain below the recommended or the daily tolerable limit. Supposedly I was fine, but you never know. If you find if your salmon source is higher than the average, then you might still run into trouble. Or I don't know, some supplements I've heard might contain heavy metals as well. So I think it's probably best I do this blood test. Although where I was going was that if it's not a recent toxicity, then the problem is you might be storing it in your fat, not in your blood. So you can do a blood test and it comes up negative. But you might still have heavy metals stored in your cells. So another way of testing is called the induced or the challenge test, where you have a chelating agent to kind of force the heavy metals out of your cells so that they can be more easily tested. It seems that would be with like a urine test. There are other methods as well, like a hair test, a nail test, or you can even get your bones tested. But I suppose step one is going to be a blood test. Instead of having a chelating agent, I think I might just have some cilantro, which is like a natural chelator to some extent, and I'll try to do some fasting beforehand so that if there is heavy metal present in my cells, that it would come into the bloodstream somewhat. Because some people, there's critics that say if you have a full-on chelating agent before a urine test, that the results might be skewed to be higher than normal. So on Monday I was actually fasting. I think it was the easiest 24-hour fast that I've done so far. I started at 5 p.m. the night before on Sunday, and I was barely hungry. I had two cups of black tea and I had a coffee. That's all I had until 5 p.m. on Monday. And at that time I had some bone broth to try and get my guts healthy, hopefully close those what's it called? The intercell spaces or something like that. The term I was looking for the intercellular spaces is called tight junctions. So this is something that gets affected when you have gluten, for instance, if you're sensitive to gluten, or supposedly even people that don't have any gluten issues. What gluten generally does is open up these tight junctions, and that allows bigger particles to get into your bloodstream, and that can provoke intolerances or allergic reactions from the immune system. So yeah, that's why you might want to avoid gluten even if you're not noticing any sensitivities. And with these chronic sensitivities, as opposed to like direct acute allergic reactions, you might not feel the symptoms such as fatigue until hours later or even the next day. So I think that's what is happening in my case. On Monday in the evening, I also had 2 eggs because I didn't have the results yet at the time of my intolerance test. And I did notice fatigue setting in a little bit later. And then on Tuesday in the morning, I started, I believe I just had some dark chocolate, then I kept on fasting. Fasting, basically only fat and protein was allowed, so sort of a keto. And then I went to do sports, and I had this soup of bone broth and sardines. It sounds delicious, I know, with garlic and what else was in there? Some vegetables, some glutamine. Glutamine is also supposed to be reparative for the gut. And it wasn't until I started feeling tired around 4 p.m. I also had some chia pudding, I believe. So there might have been an issue because I added some vegan protein, which has the pea compounds. So maybe that's what caused it yesterday. My fatigue just set on around like 4 p.m. I started feeling tired, and it was pretty intense until the evening, actually, until like 9 p.m. I started feeling a bit better again. I just finished a pretty intense CrossFit session that consisted mostly of deadlifts followed by handstand walks with a grueling amount of sets. We did 3 times 15 on deadlift, and then 50 feet handstand walk, and repeated that a total of 9 times. So I'm pretty dead.